Thank you. So, after all these very inspiring words, we are going to take you on a journey with thanks to Dawn Media and Ami Darun. We want to take you to a journey where Pakistan and civilization in this part of the world all started. So we're going to take you first to the northern areas, to the high peaks, the glaciers, where the Indus, the mighty the mighty Indus River is born. It starts in the north, and the glaciers give their gift of life to Pakistan by providing their water, which flows into the Indus and starts a course to the south of the country. The water from the north first flows through Punjab. It turns Punjab into a land of fertile plains. It brings food, water, the gift of life and jobs to the people. It then continues through the plains of Sindh and Balochistan, where it turns the desert into flowers, and where it has given birth to a civilization which has endured for 5,000 of years. That's the Indus civilization. It then reaches the delta, a very important wetland in Pakistan, which provides the country and its people with oxygen and also with a very rich biodiversity. And then the journey ends into the sea and the very beautiful coastline of Pakistan. This is a very exciting journey. It's also the opportunity to realize that the Indus, its river, its basin, are the backbone of Pakistan. This is why the government has based one of its most ambitious climate projects on it. The Living Indus initiative is something that we are going to discuss and which is really unifying the country. It's an initiative that has already earned global presence for Pakistan. In June last year, for World Environment Day in Islamabad, the country received the World Restoration Flagship Award from the UN Environment Programme, a global and very prestigious award, and actually it was awarded in presence of Mohamed Yahya and Romina, Khursheed, who are here. And today we are here, just in front with us, Deshan Sering, who is from the UN Environment Programme and covers the region of Asia. So you see everything is gathered for a very interesting debate. And before we continue speaking and in particular trying to understand why this project is important and what has already been achieved, and most importantly how we can all contribute to it, I'm going to take you where it all started, in the northern areas where the water comes out of the ground and the life and the story of the Indus starts.
The Indus has been supporting the civilization for more than 5,000 years. It is the backbone of Pakistan. What we are is because of the Indus. So the question really is, are we in a position to support the Indus for the next 100 years?
We have the technique. It is purely indigenous technique.
The snow leopard is fully in danger in few years if we cannot control it. So our upcoming generation will not able to see snow leopard.
The flood not only washed out my homes and property, but it had, take off all my childhood memories.
Pakistan is one out of the 10 most impacted countries by climate change. And what that led to really was the culmination of what we call the Living Indus program, which is an umbrella initiative. It is a call to action. The Indus flows from the north of Pakistan and then goes into the plains of Punjab via KP, and eventually it falls into the south of Pakistan, which is Sindh province, and then eventually into the Arabian Sea. The topography of Pakistan is very diverse. The mountains of Gilgit-Baltistan, the terrain that they offer is different from the terrain or the topography that you would see in Sindh. So the kind of solutions that we're providing through this Indus initiative also have to be contextualized to the particular area. And it entails within it a set of 25 interventions that are aimed towards the ecological restoration of the Indus Basin.
So as you can see, it's quite an impressive journey from Kepi, Gilgit-Baltistan, Sindh, Balochistan, Punjab, all the countries covered. It is an initiative whose project has been enshrined in a very nice booklet which is available. But I really want to start with Aban Marker Kabraji, who is climate advisor for UNEP in the region, and who was there from the very start of this project. And so she's going to tell us about it. Aban, how did it exactly start?
Well, I'd like to say initially the story of the Living Indus is something that began, in a sense, it's been something that's been considered in Pakistan for a long, long time. The Indus River is the backbone of much of what we do and recognized as essential to the future of Pakistan. But more prosaically, if we start with where this particular process began, it began from the United Nations point of view with the call that the Secretary General made a few years ago when he spoke of the triple planetary crisis, the crisis of climate change, the crisis of biodiversity loss, and the crisis of pollution. And he tasked the United Nations representatives through the resident coordinator who is with us today in every country to begin a discussion with the government of the countries, the member states of the United Nations, as to what they considered the ecosystem, the greatest negative impact of climate on the fabric of survival for the country. Now, when the discussion began with the government of Pakistan at that point, the minister at the time, who was from the Ministry of Climate Change, said, look, for us, the survival of Pakistan and the ecosystem that is going to be the most impacted is the Indus Basin. And that's a fairly self-evident issue. It's the backbone, as people have said before, of what Pakistan is today, and you saw it in the film. And then the minister said, and within that ecosystem, the most important resource is water. Water is what Pakistan depends on for its survival, as do most countries. And the source of that water, which is the monsoons, the precipitation, and the glacial melt, determines the economy and the future and the prosperity of the country. So if we are looking at what is the most important consideration for Pakistan's survival, and you heard this in what the resident coordinator Mohammed Yahya said earlier, you heard it amplified greatly in what the current minister, Romina, said. We need to focus on the source of the sustenance of Pakistan, which is water. Is there a problem? Yes. Okay, fine, thank you. And so began the discussion as what do we do? The scope is enormous. The future of the Indus determines what will happen in Pakistan and whether it will survive in its current form. And you have a problem with the mic? Okay. Is that better? Can you hear me better? What shall I use, this or this? Okay. And so essentially what we're looking at is a program for restoration. And you heard also a little earlier that the past is not going to be the future for Pakistan, and specifically not when we look at the change that is occurring with the two great systems that impact the future of the river. It's the monsoons and it's the glacial melt. And those systems which have been stable and which allowed for the current irrigation system of Pakistan to be put into place are no longer predictable. I mean, all of us have seen it. The floods come, the droughts come, and they come because we no longer know what the temperature is going to do to the ice in the mountains or what it's going to do onto the hydrodynamic systems of weather. Which is why today we live in an extremely unpredictable situation, and which is why we have to plan within the context of unpredictability. Which basically means that the program that we're talking about for the Living Indus now is Pakistan's adaptation plan for the future. How do we adapt to forces over which we have no control, which we contribute very little to, but which will fundamentally impact what happens to us as a country in the next 40, 50 years. So I'll stop there and I'll hand over now to my colleagues who will tell you more about the details of the program.
So, as we see, climate change, it's not the environment have very far-reaching implications for also what people can eat, what they can drink. And so we have with us Florence, who is the head of the Food and Agriculture Organization, and who has been working on this Living Indus project also and knows it very well. So, Florence, concretely, what is being achieved right now under this project, and how do you think it can contribute to making sure that everyone in Pakistan continues to be able to drink, to be fed, and to have jobs?
Thank you, Catherine, and good morning to all. Before going into that, I just would like to give you a story which summarizes a bit, I mean, what everybody has said, but which resonated a lot to me when it was said to me by a Pakistani person. He was saying, if the Indus rivers, because we're speaking about the basin, had a voice, what would it say to us today? He would say, look, I gave you birth. Look, I gave you your cultural sites. I gave you the food. I gave you the cities that you built. I gave you your beautiful poetry and music. And so, what have you done to me? Today, I cannot absorb the water that I receive any longer. I am polluted and I cannot give the water to the Pakistanis. I cannot produce the food the way I used to do. I am going to produce the food in the next, who knows, 50 years? That story, and when we hear about, resonates to every Pakistani. So the beauty of this initiative is the power to bring everybody together on one path with one goal. And when we hear about all the efforts and investment that the Punjab province is putting in place, it's an engine and a call as well for these global, national push, national movement towards rehabilitating and restoring this Indus Basin. So what does it mean? So each province have, started looking at their investment and looking how it's a guide, with the 25 interventions that have been identified. They can be more, they can be less, but it's a guide for all the provinces of Pakistan, from the north to the south, to be together to restore. So I would like to give you 4 messages on the way forward. The first one is a shift, a shift of a paradigm in terms of where should we focus. The focus today for the Indus Basin is about restoration. It's not about only protection of the nature, it's about restoration of the whole ecosystem. The second message is, if you want that to happen, you need to harness the creativity, the energy, and the mobilization of people. So citizenship-led development, local development, led by all the Pakistanis, locally, who have the creativity, who know the issue, they're dealing with it on the Indus every day, needs to have a voice and take place. The second message is the Living Indus gives the end, where you all want to be. The path to reach there needs to be guided. And for that, set of standards, set of rules need to be implemented. Like, these days, zero net investment, nature positive investment, where you look at an investment and you see, so how much does it is harmful to the Indus, how much does it is positive to them, and at the end it should be at least zero. The harm should be compensated by the good part. And the third one is about, I forgot it. It's about incentivize the action towards the restoration of the basin. Incentivize is, making consumers asking for it through, today, digital technologies can really push markets and influence markets. If you look at on the nutrition side, for example, these days people can ask, by a QR code, this type of project is good for nutrition. We can think, and Pakistan is full of creativity. Think about how consumers can ask corporates, industry, companies to push for this cleaning of this restoration of the whole basin. With that, I'll leave it.
So it's very, very interesting, and I think the word restoration, it was a very important one. Another thing you said was very interesting about the need to bring everyone on board, and I think we have with us Abdullah Fadil, who is the head of UNICEF, the UN Children Agency in Pakistan. So Abdullah, how do you think it is possible to bring people on board, including young people? We know that we're talking about saving the Indus and restoring it for the future generations.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Maybe I'll just, you've heard the last day and a half a lot about climate change, its impact, the fact that self-reliance is the first opportunity we have. And I think even this morning, you've heard the senior minister from Punjab say that we should first get our house in order. I think we've also heard that the global north, responsible for most of the climate change impact, is not to the rescue of the global south. So, and given Pakistan, and particularly today we're talking about the Indus River, 7th largest mangrove in the world, 5th largest delta in the world. 90% of the people of Pakistan and 3/4 of the economy relying on this. So what is it that we need to do? Because you can't wait, and your life is being taken, your options for a future is being taken away from you by what is happening globally, but also the conduct of how we treat this river. So let me just talk about a bit mobilization of people. Pakistan is blessed to have almost 45 million young people. Zunaira is only 14. She will be 15 soon. From age of 15 to 24, 45 million young people. If this was a country, it would be among the 35th or 36th country in the world. That is how the number of young people in this country is. I'm not counting the children. About 20 million of them are neither in education nor in training. 20 million are neither in education nor in training, what we call NEET. That's almost 33%. How can we mobilize these young people? First, for them to be connected back to their roots. I was thinking about coming up with a beautiful poem on Daraya Sindh, the poem about the river Indus, but then I was told not to do it. How do we mobilize? There is currently in the national system a national volunteer corps. It's working its way through PC1s and so forth and so on. I think we need to really have a national volunteer corps that focuses on young people from 15 to 24, that is able every year to mobilize 1 million, 2 million, 3 million young people to work through this river in terms of restoration, in terms of cleaning, and I think and I think this event, this dawn thought and inception of this idea, how do we use social media and leverage to mobilize young people, right, is going to be crucial. So rather than all this great talk we've heard, what are the concrete actions we can do? And again, unfortunately, the average age of people sitting here is not the young people that we need to be running. But how do we get out of this conference and mobilize these millions of young people, particularly those who are not in education or in training, but also those who are also in education and training? How do we combine all of this energy and resources to make an impact in Pakistan? That is, for me, a call to action. And from our work through communities, grassroots, I think it's something we're willing as United Nations to support the leadership of government if this is an area that government wants to pursue. One final note on why do we think climate change, but also particularly the Indus is important, and not speaking about water and how important water is. And I will not, again, quote verses from the Quran about how water is the source of life. Children, when a baby is in the womb of a mother, and from the inception until they're about 2 years old, they're the most vulnerable to climate change, from the water they consume, from the food that comes to mother, from the air that the mother breathes, from the air that a young child whose lungs are still developing breathes. Climate change actually has not only impact today, but also on the children who are yet to be born. So it's a real issue that I think we need to deal with. And I think educating young people and making sure curriculums of schools include how to protect the climate, how to already have ownership of this issue is going to be crucial. That's another area where we hope to be working with government. And later today, we actually will have a session on education and climate change. And I think that's where we will explore a bit more. So mobilizing the young people is going to be crucial. Using social media is going to be crucial. And I think there's an opportunity to engage this. Thank you.
No, I think, as you said, education is key and is what will also determine the future of the Indus. Florence, you were mentioning also how the Indus provides people with food and water. What kind of interventions, for instance, can be done to ensure food security in all for the people living all along its banks.
So, Kath, there will be a session this afternoon on agriculture, forestry, so I encourage all of you to come with a very interesting panel from the government to the farmers. I mean, farmers, the first thing is farmers have not waited us to adapt to climate change. That's, you know, throughout the world, farmers are trying to find ways to adapt to climate change because they are, you know, hitting, the climate change is hitting their life every day. What we're going to, I'm not going to respond because I want people to to attend the session in the afternoon, but I'll give you an hint on what we are going to look at. Is we think agriculture is the production of food only, but agriculture is much more than that. Agriculture is providing livelihoods for millions of farmers. Remember that 90% of the farmers are smallholder farmers in Pakistan, and they have only 50% of the land. So it's a livelihood. Agriculture can restore the nature, the ecosystem. You know, if you take agriculture in its broad sense with forestry, fisheries, it has a role in protecting, but it can also, so it's an opportunity, but it can also totally destroy the environment. So social, and it has another aspect that we will look at is the safe food part. So it has an impact as well on the nutrition of Pakistan. So we look at these different roles that agriculture plays and the importance, therefore, to adapt not only for national food security, but for the other things. Thanks.
Thank you very much. It's very interesting. Aban, do you want to add anything?
Well, just to enforce what the Minister said earlier and what the others have said, that, you know, this is a program that's essential. It's an existential, climate change is an existential crisis for most countries. For Pakistan, the ecosystem that is going to be impacted most greatly is the Indus and the Indus Basin. So from that point of view, it's part of our future, part of our survival, and how we adapt and how we restore it makes for what we define as Pakistan's future. So nothing that's as big as one can be. Yeah.
So I think we're reaching the end of our session. Abdullah, do you want to add anything?
Maybe just again to go back to what the Minister said earlier, the global environmental tax. I think Minister also referred to the Iran-Pakistan 5 E's, and there's one that is about equity and empowerment. Perhaps this could be used as a way to empower young people and, you know, under the national plan. But what I would also suggest, because this is about taking ownership and responsibility, while global tax on environment for the global north to pay is important, Pakistan also needs to look at its own tax system and subsidies that are not effective, particularly in agriculture, or subsidies that go to the most wealthiest of communities. So if Pakistan invests in itself, the world will move. And I think that is the most important thing. Let's demonstrate to the world we are committed and we are going to make a difference, then the world can be mobilized.
So thank you very much to all you three. I think it's a very, very inspiring project. I think it's something that anyone in the world, when they hear about Living Indus, it's words that resonate. And I think it's also, again, an example of Pakistan being not only on the forefront of climate change in terms of impact, but also in terms of showing the way and trying to find solutions. So we will all be following the Living Indus project. And again, for anyone who's interested, we have this book and this project, which initially was written by Dr. Adil Najam, the head of WWF. And I thank you all. We are here. If you have any questions, we'll be in the room. Thank you very much.